Okay, we're here in Beverly Studios, in the studio of Ray Corcoran, an artist that will be familiar to anybody in Bray, I'm sure. He's produced many great works over the year. Could you tell us about a little bit about yourself, Ray, about your background as an artist?
That's a good question. No, I've been at it years. I mean, I don't really have formal training. I did try, was it NCAD 1,000 years ago, dinosaurs and all the rest, didn't get it, and I tried it. It was Dunleary. I can't remember what it was in Dunleary. There was I think it wasn't National College of Art and Design, but there was another art college there as well, which I didn't get. But I've always been at the art. I loved it anyway, regardless. So I've just been painting. Whether win or lose or draw, I paint, and it's all I can pretty do reasonably well,
I'd say a great deal better than reasonable. So in a sense, it's become a bit of a vocation, might be a strong word, but it's just what you do essentially.
Keeps me sane.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, what would I be doing if I wasn't up here? I'm working on something at the moment. You saw that, and I'll explain that later. But yeah, it's. I mean, I've had God knows how many exhibitions and that. Don't make a living. Like most artists, musicians, poets, painters, writers. They make a living when they're dead.
Yeah,
that's the usual. So I hope I'll make a good living when I'm dead.
Yeah, I tell you, we plan to talk to a lot of artists, and I think
it's a great idea. I think it's a good idea. As I say, there's a gang of us here, and anyway, we'll go into that another day.
But I think that will be a common theme that a lot of, I'd say 9% of them are not doing for the monetary value because it's not there.
No, I mean, the gang here, they're not here for the money. There's no money here, And I must say the landlord actually is very good as well. The rent, now we share space, so it kind of works out cheaper, but the rent is reasonable, affordable, Sure, I'm on the scratcher.
Yeah, well, look, you
know what I mean?
won't be long. There's many artists are doing that, and in Time Memoriam have been doing that.
Yeah.
And there's something refreshing in that. I know it's not ideal for somebody starting at the here, though, you won't make money, but there's something refreshing in the fact that there's a collective here still operating, still producing art, and are shoulder to shoulder as such,
Yeah, it's. I suppose, it's nice because, I was talking to Pat, from in there now, and Pat McAllister, and I was talking to him about the painting I'm working on at the moment, and I was asking him a few ideas, because, sometimes I was down in my bedroom, that's going back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I'd say, and you're painting away on your own, and, it's nice to be able to bounce an idea, just get a little bit of feedback, something else, and it's great because he was saying, geez, Ray, that's nice, that's lovely, blah, blah, blah. And you feel we all need a little bit of encouragement.
Indeed.
And so it's kind of nice. And he was kind of saying, well, for his penny's worth or whatever. And I said, well, yeah, tell me, And then I thought, yeah, I like that. I like the idea of where he's coming from, about the kind of the background, the people in the background of that painting. And so I said, yeah, okay. I was going to blank it out and just have it kind of, would say, a kind of nice soft colours. But I thought, no, put some of the characters in the background.
Sure, it's just that extra perspective. When one of your peers is giving you that support or giving it.
Yeah, exactly. Patty's great, But Luke, they're all brilliant. Andrea and Magda, they're all brilliant. We all kind of share ideas and that. And sometimes you mightn't hear what you want to hear, but sure, that's part of it.
Indeed, yeah. Just going back to when you started, right? Is there any artist that you can point to that you can say was an influence, or did you just enjoy painting? Was it something?
Enjoy painting. I remember as a teenager, like all teenagers, when I saw Daly's John of the Cross, is it, or whatever you call it, I think it's in Scotland, where perspective as you're looking down.
Yes.
I thought, wow, that's a piece. You know what I mean? Or reading about it all later and kind of the setup, and there's an awful lot of work went into setting it up before he even started, But nonetheless, I thought that was brilliant, and it was Turner. I always thought he was brilliant, I just loved Turner, all of them. There's very few that. Rothko doesn't do it for me an awful lot, but on the other hand, I was actually looking through a book the other day, and I said, Jesus, that's beautiful, the colours and the way he'd kind of, because actually that was it, the painting that I'm working on at the moment. And then Pat was saying, why don't you do that? I was going through books of art and I came across Rothko and I thought, geez, that's beautiful. I think, could I use those colours in that background? And then Pat and I started talking, and then we said, oh, put the figures in, leave the figures in, but vaguely,
Just on Rothko, would Rothko be an influence that wasn't heavily in your life before that you're finding
No,
now?
I wouldn't have been mad about Rothko.
It's amazing how our influences change as we...
Yeah, I suppose as we change. I mean, I'd look at Dali today and I think some of the stuff was good, all right, but it was a little bit gimmicky, you know. But nonetheless...
Yeah, he was clever.
It was nonetheless. But sure, so was... What's his name? Picasso was quite gimmicky as well, you know. Good businessman, I believe, as well. You know, that helps.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And just I suppose on your influence as well, moving on to your kind of present work, I've noticed the last few exhibitions, I've seen a few of your paintings recently, and they're featuring people who are kind of in your landscape, in your community.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was saying earlier about kind of the Becketts and the Bonos and the Beans and all the usual suspects and that. But kind of, it's nice to get away from that and just paint ordinary people, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do at the moment. I'm just kind of painting ordinary people and of course, landscapes as well and whatever. But I mean, when I'm working in oils, I could maybe go to 2 paintings at a time because, you know, the oils are slow and you're waiting for it to dry. So then you go to and you're in oils, so start another painting in oils. So you kind of you overlap one with the other. I mean, there's 3, one, 2, 3, I think, paintings unfinished in oils because, long story, but basically there about 2 or 3 weeks ago I was asked would I do a mural out in the old folks' home in Shankill, you know, and so I kind of stopped and took all the acrylics and everything and out to Shankill, got a lift out and blah blah, and you know, delighted to do it for them, painted a mural for them, and I was just kind of about from the window to about there, roughly, I'd say, to the door. Not quite the height of the ceiling, but it took me roughly about a week. Now, I didn't finish it entirely, but I thought, that's enough, it's grand, and they were delighted, so, I know, brightened the place up for them.
Indeed. Yeah.
So then kind of coming back here now, I'm back into the oils, and then kind of I was doing something for a friend of mine as well, and I'm constantly jumping. Sometimes I say, Jesus Ray, you know, just finish one thing at a time, you know.
Yeah, but it must be interesting to switch those mediums, like working mural back to oil. And if you normally just work in oil, or is that
mainly acrylics and oils, just those 2. But then on the other hand, I was thinking, if I had the space, I'd kind of start doing inks and stuff like that, and also pottery and whatever else, and sculpture, and do everything if you could. You know,
Indeed,
if you could.
Could you tell us, Ray, about your Caravaggio, Ray Corcoran's Caravaggio?
I know, I mean, geez, yeah, it's a long story. I had to paint for an interior designer, Caravaggio, the Taking of the Christ, so I did a direct copy, you know, and what was the story? Yeah, I did the copy of that, and this is it. When I was painting that picture, I mean, like with all the Italian Renaissance, you know the way they always made them contemporary. They never used Roman soldiers. They would all have been of the time, the period medieval and after the Renaissance and all this. They all had the same kind of costume, like the Italian. It was all Italian costume, most of it, you know. So I kind of thought, that's interesting, but you could do it today, in today's, you know. So, long story, cut to the chase. The guards, they were brilliant. They gave me the riot gear. Now, the riot gear, I think, was old, but nonetheless was, you know, the perspex shields and the helmets and the batons and all the rest. Now I had to have it back to them for the weekend and then have it back, you know. But I got all my friends, and anyway, Barry, my son, is in it, and his mate and a lot of musician friends and all the rest, and got them all and into the flat on the seafront, you know what I mean. Pulled the curtains and low light and Now I'd say, geez, we took at least, I'd say, Jimmy Kinston was taking photographs, I was taking photographs, he was in, I was out, and blah blah blah, and that, and eventually, anyway, kind of whittled it all down to, I'd say there was about 5 photographs that really had any sort of impact, because, like, Barry, kind of, I was saying to him, he was one of the arresting guards, you know, I was saying to him, you know, Barry, and the boys, they you know what, there's where actors come in, because actors know what you want. The lads hadn't a clue. They really hadn't. But anyway, cut to the chase, I was saying to Barry and to Jason, the 2 boys were dressed as guards, and they're arresting Dave. Dave's meant to be the Christ character, and they're kind of like this, and they're kind of, yawn and all this. I says, look, lads, just for 1 minute, imagine this guy is a real pain in the ass and you're taking him in, you know, and that's all about it. So Barry leans across, grabs Dave on the shoulder, and now at first he was kind of like that. I said, no. And he leaned in, and he was, you know, suddenly the movement, the whole movement of the painting, rather than being kind of like that, it all started going into, and it kind of focused more on Dave, the central character, and then what's his name, Neil Miller, he actually had he had a lamp shining on his face, and he kind of leaned over with the lamp, and it just bang.
Wow.
And that was it. It was one photograph in the end, without a doubt. Myself and Irina, Romanian girl, blah blah, cut to the chase. We were going through the photographs and going through them, and eventually she said, and both of us said, yeah, that's it, that's the one. Now the others were pretty good, but that one then, when you really looked at it, stood out. So that was the one. And the handiest way around it, everyone said, oh, you shouldn't be saying this, but the handiest way around it was, got the negative, projected it, drew it out, and painted it.
Of course.
And that was it, you know. And now I could have done it freehand, but you'd be talking months, you know, to actually get that. You know, so, but yeah, that was, there was a lot of work in that. But yeah, actually that took, I would say, 6 months, but all in all, on and off, a year. Now what am I saying, about 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
Oh yeah, there was, and to me it was never finished correctly. You know, there was more I wanted to do. Yeah. But anyway, unfortunately, that was it. The Harbour Bar, was in the Harbour Bar for a while, and BBC were doing a documentary on Caravaggio and his influences, you know. And someone, I don't know how, but anyway, they rang Tommy, a friend of mine who had the bicycle shop here in Bray in Castle Street. They rang Tommy and said to him, you know, blah, 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 would be interested in talking to your friend about his painting of the Caravaggio. So it was arranged, we went into, I think it was over Turner's, there's a function room. And it's just around the corner from the, what they call it?
The gallery.
From the National Gallery. So we brought the painting, I think it was in Tommy's van, brought the painting in the van because it was pretty big, you know. And that was fine, 2 easels, put it behind me, set it up, and the boys interviewed me, you know. And I just thought, I would say the interview went on for about 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. Because there was things I was saying, like the guards, and he'd say, stop. Could you repeat that? Because could you call them the police? Because people in Britain won't know who the guards are. You know? Then a bus had passed, then there was something, because it was right on the street, Bagot Street, I think, you know. So there was a lot of that, but eventually, anyway, we got it all finished and done and dusted, and yeah. So that, and they actually sent me the disc, but they didn't use it. The reason they didn't use it, unfortunately, was that as far as I know, they dropped the Caravaggio influence and just went with the history of the painting from where it was, remember, it was first discovered in the Jesuits.
That's right.
You know, and then it was being cleaned, and then kind of they got experts, and that was all done in secret. No one knew about it. It was kind of, we might have something worth a few million here, so it had to be kept very quiet, you know. Heard all that later. But anyway, yeah, so they didn't use it, unfortunately. And then I kind of thought, no, at the time, I think it was before the smoking ban, I thought, geez, or was it during the smoking ban, but I thought, it was in the Harbour Bar, I'd say, for about a year and a half, 2 years. And I thought, just take it out, you know. So Tommy, my friend, was minding it for me in the bicycle shop on Castle Street. And I was here actually one day looking out. Now, it'd been in his place, I'd say, about 2 or 3 years, I think. And I was looking out the window down onto Castle Street. And I saw the smoke. I could hear kind of commotion and crackling, and looked down. I thought, oh, for fuck's sake, you know. That was it. I knew it was gone. You know, that was a real sickener. You know, that was a lot of work. It took about, as I say, took about 3 or 4 years. Went up in about 3 or 4 minutes. You know, I thought, Jesus. You know, a lot of people said to me, "Would you do it again?" And I was thinking, no, I don't think so. You know, if I saw a photograph of the riot gear that the police have now, the guards have nowadays. And you want to see it. I mean, talk about state of the art kind of riot gear. You know, I thought, geez, it'd be great to use that gear and do another version of it. All right, but I mean, I don't know if the guards be into. I mean, it's really expensive gear. They wouldn't lend me.
It was a different time, wasn't it?
It was a different time. Yeah, you could talk to the guards then. You could talk to people. You know. And I'll just tell you this, there's a painting I want to do, and I want to do it kind of the ideas of kind of bureaucracy, you know. And the reason is that years ago, like that, you could talk to the guards, and I had to write a letter. A friend of mine wrote a letter for me and gave it to the guards, and they gave me a loan of the right gear and had it back at the weekend and all this. Now I think it was out of date stuff anyway. But cut to the chase is that this painting I want to do at the moment, I want to set it in an office, and the name of the painting is Bureaucracy. And the idea is that you'll have 3 or 4 people in an office interviewing someone. But the thing about they're facing you as you're looking at the painting. But the thing is they have no faces. And that's bureaucracy. It's faceless. It's always faceless.
That is fascinating. It's so true.
And I want to get a motherfucker of an office. You know, something that's really not just, I mean, no, I was offered 1 or 2 offices here in Bray. And they're not I want something that's, you know, a statement of bureaucracy itself, the power of bureaucracy. And if you've got something to say, boy, you go and we'll just pass you around. We'll just pass the book, you know.
Yeah.
When anything goes wrong, you ring someone, and you're ringing India, you're ringing wherever, you know. Say, you know, where's the human in this? There are no humans.
Fascinating.
Actually, Andrea said to me, and I might do, she said, you could have a computer screen, and the computer screen could have a face. I thought, that's not a bad idea.
Finally, Ray, I suppose I'd just like to ask you, I suppose from your perspective now, as an artist who is established in Bray, who's working away, what would you say to yourself?
Established? I don't know about that.
What would you say to your younger self starting out?
Give it up. No, it's just, I don't know, to the younger self, I would say, you know, expect it to be a hard game, you know. But I mean, like, that's, yeah, as I said earlier, painters, poets, all the rest of them, that it's just, I think you have to have a love for it. And that, I think, is really what counts in the end. I mean, the money is great and all the rest of that, but if you don't have, well, look at you, how many musicians, young lads, do you know? You know, the rock groups and all those. I've heard it so many times. And fair play to them. God love them. They want to change the world and they want to, you know, whatever. But they're not doing it for money. They're not in it for money. You know, okay, if money comes and success comes, it's great and all the rest. But otherwise, no, they're not in it for money.
It's just
it's a dedication.
Dedication.
You know, I think so. You know, that would be me anyway. I love it. I love the. Now, don't get me wrong. Jesus, I've wrecked paintings at times, gone mad. I remember one time I was doing a painting. It's a long story, but it was a dolmen. There's a famous dolmen, the Pone the Brone dolmen down in the Burren in County Clare, and I was doing a painting of it, and I was trying to get this evening light, and I'd taken photographs of it. I'd been down there several times. For some reason, strange, this is absolutely true, though, none of the photographs ever worked. What's going on here, you know? So anyway, there was a tour bus and there was tourists all over the place, and I thought, look, just take the photographs, right, and it'll reference, you don't need to have, you know. And anyway, painted it, and it was in acrylics, and I was trying to get this light, evening light, and it wasn't working, and I lost the head. I kicked it off the easel, and I was in a friend's place. He'd allowed me to use his garage as a studio, so I kicked it off the easel, got a bucket of water, dragged it outside behind the shed, and threw the bucket of water over it. And I used to smoke at the time, and I went off and had a cigarette, and it was a glorious sunny day, like now, glorious, and I was absolutely fuming. I was just boiling and that, and I went back around the shed, and I looked at the painting, and I put it upside down, and you know, the painting of the dolmen itself was dry and solid, but the sky wasn't, you know. Mm-hmm. And the sky, there was all this light kind of shining, shooting out of the dolmen into the sky if you turned it upside the right way. I thought, Jesus, that could work, you know. And I have some photographs of it somewhere, but anyway, I sold that all right, and that I got a nice price for that. But there was a price to pay for it too, though, the anger, you know, just couldn't get something right. And that's the other side of it, you know. I mean, it's great, it's lovely, but it's not. People say it must be lovely to be able to paint. It is, but it's like, I'm sure poets and musicians, everyone get that. The other side, you know, the dark side, or whatever. Luke, come over to the dark side. But you know what I'm saying? That was a real, but it was brilliant in the end. You know, it worked out in the end. The painting was actually, it was quite powerful, if I do say so myself.
That's a great way to finish, Ray. Ray, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.